Ali Lolly sentence. Juice World's killer sentence. Goodbye. I mean, that's a strong title. Like, Juice World's killer.
Never sue the other driver after a car accident. There's a better way to get paid a way bigger check without having to go to court or pay expensive upfront legal.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. You guys think he died from a drug overdose. You're wrong. There's a lot of y'all don't know.
That was Juice WRLD's girlfriend, Ali Lottie, hinting that his death wasn't what the world believed. And now, it looks like she was right. The person responsible has finally been sentenced, completely shifting how we understand Juice's final moments, and backing up everything Ali said. Let's break it all down. The sentencing they never thought would come. The trial is over. The man who helped orchestrate the drug deal that led to the death of one of the greatest musical prodigies of our generation has just been sentenced. But if you think justice was served, think again. Because the killer of Juice WRLD didn't come with a gun. He came with a backpack filled with pills. And now, he's walking away with what many fans are calling a slap on the wrist. A sentencing so light, so disrespectful, that Juice's own mother had to pause, breathe, and say, this can't be it. Juice WRLD was a ticking time bomb. But the people holding the matches were paid to keep him lit. This wasn't just one overdose. It was a system of abuse, glamorization, and enabling. And now that system's trying to wash its hands clean. But we're not letting them. Let's rewind. By now, most fans know how it ended. A private jet, a raid, a panic, a seizure, a lifeless body at Chicago Midway. But that story has since cracked wide open because what Ali Lottie, Juice WRLD's longtime girlfriend, revealed in a now viral clip completely shatters the official narrative.
Y'all imagine, literally, I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. You guys think he died from a drug overdose. You're wrong. You're wrong.
I've seen this, but I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. That video old. I seen it before, but it's like, then what happened? We ain't get no insight on that shit. But for her to be who she is and to make that statement, like, that's deep. Like, what the fuck?
In that emotional breakdown, she's not
I do feel her though. I think she know what she talking about.
just ranting. She's screaming at the internet because, in her words,
There's a lot of y'all don't know that I fucking grieve through myself while I let y'all grieve and talk bad on me. I don't care. I'm gonna go ahead and be what y'all want me to be, which is me. Okay? All 10K of y'all. And the late night Barbie. Y'all.
she's saying the version of events we've all been fed, the simple, tidy overdose story, is a lie. Why would she say that? Because what really happened on that plane is far more horrifying than what the media has packaged for public consumption. Here's the real timeline. December 8th, 2019, Juice WRLD. Real name, Jared Higgins. Boards a private jet from Los Angeles to Chicago. He's just turned 21. A new decade of life, a fresh start. But the plane is carrying something else. Federal authorities say the pilot had reported the presence of weapons and drugs on board according to this report. And when they landed, that's when everything went sideways. In a desperate move to hide what was on him, Juice WRLD allegedly swallowed multiple Percocet pills at once. A move many believe he made not to get high, but to stay out of jail.
I think I got one.
I always thought, like, he's smart enough to not take too much. So this story is just interesting.
But here's where it gets sick. Why was he even in that position to begin with? According to DJ Academics, it wasn't just Juice WRLD's decision. It was the result of constant pressure, chaos, and mismanagement from the people around him.
Chat, I'm not saying he ain't whatever pills allegedly he took or whatever that made him overdose. I ain't saying he didn't do it that himself, but the police that spooked him would not be there if niggas around him weren't putting him in situations.
You hear that? Even Academics,
Right.
not exactly known.
I agree with that. I know what he's trying to say. He sound like me, like the way I would try to enlighten somebody. Like, look, it's a bigger picture. It's a bigger way to see things. Like, it's multiple ways to see things. Like, If you keep certain people around you and keep certain crowds, then you avoid a lot.
For being gentle, said it was Juice's circle that got him killed. And they weren't strangers. These were his friends, his crew, his management, the ones who let a young man ride dirty on a private plane and didn't stop him when he panicked and ingested a fatal dose of opioids. And as for those pills, the U.S. Department of Justice confirmed that Henry Dean, a close associate of Juice WRLD, was found guilty of bringing pills onto the plane. He received a sentence that, to many fans, felt like a cruel joke: 3 years probation and a fine. Let's be clear, Juice WRLD is dead, Dean is free. And fans, they're furious, because for them, it's not just about one man. It's about the years of warning signs that were ignored, and the people who let it happen because, let's be honest, they were profiting. Even Juice WRLD himself was begging for help. In his last months, he spoke about trying to get clean. He admitted to being addicted, and he explained, painfully, how early that addiction took hold.
You always had issues with the drugs even before you started to get famous and rich?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was something that I was into early, low-key due to music. Because, like, I was a music head, so, like...
Yeah, Drew started young, man. He always spoke on that in his music, like... That's the thing about his music, like, you can really hear the pain. Like, it's crazy.
Like, in 6th grade, 7th grade, I'm hearing songs about sipping lean, and that it had me wanting to sip lean at, like, 11, 12 years old, bro.
Yeah.
So...
11 years old. And he says music, specifically Future's lyrics, made that lifestyle seem fun. We'll get to that part later. But it wasn't just talk. His mother confirmed it. He was...
Hold on real quick. You gonna have to...
trying to get help. He told me he was ready to get help. She described how just months before his death, Juice seemed like himself again. He was off lean. He was talking about therapy. And then it was over. The kicker. While Juice's body was still warm, the music label was already planning how to profit off his name. DJ Academics indirectly blew the lid off that whole scheme.
I wouldn't say necessarily if you're lying to fans about putting out Juice WRLD's music and you're having them basically forcing them to support Kid LAROI, that's the best thing to do. But truth be told, and I'm really trying to, I don't want to be disrespectful with this phrase, but one monkey don't stop a show. Like, Juice passed away. They ain't running business over there. They're not about to be like, all right, let's keep trying to put Juice's stuff out. They're trying to get the next horse to, again, his business.
You hear that? Instead of giving fans closure, Interscope allegedly used Juice's death to push another artist. That's not music. That's corporate necromancy. And what do the fans get? Unreleased Juice WRLD tracks chopped up in Frankenstein with verses from artists he never approved. A promise of a deluxe album that was never delivered unless you stream another artist first. And then they have the nerve to act like this is a tribute. No, it's a business. And Juice WRLD was their cash cow, even in death. Now ask yourself, how many people knew this was going to happen? How many people watched Juice WRLD spiral and said nothing? Allie. Lottie said it best.
No one helped. No one. It was one person. One person out of all the people that were there that were able to help.
All this shit real. That's how it be for real. Like, you might think people can't be capable of do something like that or plot on somebody like that, but that shit real. People, then especially people that with experience that done been in the business for years, they done seen shit. Like,
I'm not talking about the group that we were with because they were handcuffed. So there's not much they could do. But everyone else that was there was only one person who helped me. It was a woman. I'm so grateful for her.
No one helped, except for one woman, a stranger. Everyone else, they watched. Because when Juice WRLD hit the ground, he didn't just fall alone. He fell through the cracks of an industry that eats young talent. And unless we talk about it, really talk about it, it's going to keep happening. The system that lets we talk about it fall alone. He fell through the cracks of an industry that eats young talent. And unless we talk about it, really talk about it, it's going to keep happening. The system that failed him, legal.
You gotta talk about it and put light on it to do anything, to do something.
Intervention and industry enablement. The failure went deeper than just one tragic night at an airport. The system that was supposed to protect Juice WRLD had been crumbling for months, and the warning signs were everywhere. Yet instead of intervention, what we got was enablement. Instead of help, we got exploitation. Let's talk about what was really happening behind the scenes in the months leading up to December 8, 2019. Because this story isn't just about one overdose. It's about a systematic failure that cost a young man his life. Juice WRLD's struggle with substance abuse was a significant concern for his team, with reports indicating that his drug use began in high school and escalated with his fame, involving substances like Xanax, Percocet, and lean. But here's what most people don't know. There were actual intervention efforts happening. Just weeks before his death, during a tour in Australia, collaborators like Max Lord and others confronted Juice WRLD about his drug use, expressing fears of losing him. This emotional intervention led to Juice WRLD agreeing to enter rehab, scheduled for December 22nd, 2019. December 22nd, 2019 marked that date. He was supposed to get help. He was supposed to be in rehab. Instead,
Dang.
he was dead 14 days earlier. Lil.
Shit. Damn. I feel conspiracy all over this shit. Like, damn. December 22nd, he was gonna be in rehab. They set him up 2 weeks before that. Man, you can say conspiracy theory. I believe in all that. Illuminati, everything, man. Shit crazy.
Bibby, as label head, was particularly alarmed when he learned Juice WRLD was taking 4 Percocet pills at a time. He organized an intervention, describing it as Poke WRLD was 10 days earlier. Lil Bibby, as label head, was particularly alarmed when he learned Juice WRLD was taking 4 Percocet pills at a time. He organized an intervention, describing it as pulling teeth to get Juice WRLD's agreement to rehab. Bibby had already signed him up for a program, but Juice WRLD insisted on lowering his dosage rather than stopping entirely. Think about that for a second. The people who were supposed to be protecting him knew he was taking 4 Percocet pills at once. They knew he needed help. They even got him to agree to rehab, but somehow he still ended up on that plane with enough drugs to kill him. So what went wrong?
I just felt like his best interest wasn't being looked out for. I think people had their own agendas. I think they liked the lifestyle. And they were young too, so I have to give them that. They're young, so they don't see things the way, we would see them. But I just think that he just didn't have the people in place that just tell him to stop or no, or he just didn't have that support system in place.
His own mother saw it. The people around him weren't there to protect him. They were there to profit from it. And when you're making millions of dollars off someone's talent, their well-being becomes secondary to the business. But the legal system was closing in too. This wasn't just about addiction.
I would have made
Juice
sure
WRLD
bro
was
was
facing
straight, bro.
serious criminal charges that could have destroyed his career and sent him to prison for decades. In November 2019, Juice WRLD and his entourage were searched by drug-sniffing dogs and customs agents at LAX while boarding a flight to Sydney, Australia. This incident reportedly placed him on the FBI's watch list for drug possession. The feds were watching him. They had been for months. And when that private jet landed at Midway Airport on December 8th, authorities found 70 pounds of marijuana in 41 vacuum-sealed bags, 6 bottles of prescription codeine cough syrup, 2 9mm pistols, a .40 caliber pistol, a high-capacity ammunition magazine, and metal-piercing bullets. 70 pounds of marijuana. That's not personal use. That's trafficking. Under federal law, that could have meant 15 years in prison. Add the weapons charges, and you're looking at potentially decades behind bars. The legal pressure was immense. User opinions from Reddit estimated that Juice WRLD faced many years in prison, with some suggesting 40+ years if charged with trafficking and gun offenses. For a 21-year-old, that might as well have been a life sentence. This is where the story gets even more tragic. Because while Juice WRLD was spiraling, while he was facing potential life in prison, while he was desperately trying to get clean, the music industry was still squeezing every dollar they could out of him. The management team took him to doctors 20, 30 times and arranged for brain and heart scans to monitor his health. 20 doctors. The music industry was still squeezing every dollar they could out of him. The management team took him to doctors 20, 30 times and arranged for brain and heart scans to monitor his health. 20 to 30 doctor visits. They knew how bad his condition was. They had medical evidence of what the drugs were doing to his body. And yet they kept him working. They kept him touring. They kept him in the same environment that was killing him. Why? Because dead artists don't make money, but neither do artists in rehab. The intervention efforts, while genuine, came too late and weren't comprehensive enough. Other team members, including Juice WRLD's mother, Carmela Wallace, and collaborators like Rex Kudo and A$AP Bari, also attempted to address his addiction. But by then, the system had already failed him. Here's what's particularly heartbreaking. The intervention occurred about a week before December 8, 2019, with key figures including Lil Bibby, Max Lord, Carmela Wallace, Peter Gideonamo, Rex Kudo, and A$AP Bari all involved. They had a unified approach. They all agreed he needed help, and yet somehow he still ended up on that plane. The question that haunts everyone who knew him is simple. How do you have an intervention one week and a funeral the next? The answer lies in the fundamental conflict at the heart of the music industry. When someone is worth millions of dollars, when their name alone can sell albums and fill stadiums, the pressure to keep them working becomes overwhelming. Rehab means no tours. Recovery means no new music. Sobriety means less profitable content. So instead of getting the intensive, round-the-clock care he needed, Juice WRLD got compromised. Instead of immediate rehab, he got a scheduled date 2 weeks in the future. Instead of removing him from a toxic environment, they tried to manage his addiction while keeping him productive.
You said that before his passing, he told you that he made the decision to get professional help.
He did.
Was he ready to go to rehab?
He sounded like it. And months before then, I say like in September, when I went to see him, he seemed like himself, you know, like my baby. We just had such a good time hanging out. I brought him one of his favorite sandwiches from Chicago, so we were just hanging out, and you know, he wasn't doing the lean anymore. I could tell there was a difference in him, that he wasn't doing the lean. I think he was still doing pills, but he told me he was ready to get help.
His mother saw the improvement. He was getting better. He was ready for help, but the system around him couldn't wait. The machine needed to keep running, even if it meant grinding him.
Yeah, overall, that's what it's summing up to me. It's like we in the devil's playground, yo, and ain't none of us perfect, you know. We got disagreeable and agreeable nature, so we gonna dance and play around sometimes, but you gotta overall have protection around you. Like you gotta have somebody on the right channel around you, no matter what. That's gonna help make sure you following that path. You get back home. He ain't had nobody around him like that. Or the people he had around him overbalance the people that was trying to do good. Like he had way more ignorant around him.
Him up in the process. And then there were the legal complications that nobody talks about. In October 2019, the pop-punk band Yellowcard filed a $15 million lawsuit against Juice WRLD, alleging that Lucid Dreams copied their song Hollywood Died. $15 million. For a young artist already struggling with addiction and facing potential federal charges, this lawsuit represented another crushing weight. The timing was devastating. Here was someone trying to get clean, trying to rebuild his life, and now he's facing a lawsuit that could bankrupt him over his biggest hit. The stress alone could have triggered a
This right here is a gold play button from YouTube. You get this when you get 1 million subscribers. This is a silver play button that you get when you get 100,000 subscribers. Now, what if I were to tell you that this channel that got this play button right here makes about 100 times more money than this channel right here? Subscribers are vanity metrics. They don't matter. What matters is how much you make from your channel, and the way you make from your channel is to monetize before getting monetized. That might sound crazy, but I would love to invite you to a completely free training that you can attend just by clicking on this ad, enter your email, you can see it. And on this free training, I'm going to be revealing to you exactly how I run tiny YouTube channels that make absurd amounts. And the way I'm able to do that is by implementing a new flywheel pillar video system that allows me to scale to insane amounts with tiny amounts of views and subscribers. Help tons of students do this as well.
relapse. But perhaps the most damning evidence of systemic failure comes from what happened after his death. After Juice WRLD's death, Yellow Card lawsuit initially proceeded against his estate, but was paused to allow an executor to be named. In July 2020, Yellow Card dropped the lawsuit, citing concerns about public backlash and sympathy for Juice WRLD's grieving mother. They dropped it. After his death, they suddenly decided that maybe, just maybe, pursuing a grieving family for $15 million wasn't the right move. But while he was alive and struggling, fair game. This is the system that failed Juice WRLD, a system where profit comes before people, where legal pressure is used as leverage, where interventions are scheduled around tour dates instead of medical needs. The saddest part, it didn't have to be this way. The warning signs were there. The resources were available. The people who loved him were fighting for his life, but the industry that profited from his pain couldn't afford to let him get better, not when there was still money to be made. The conspiracy machine and controversial aftermath. In death, Juice WRLD became something he never wanted to be in life. The center of a conspiracy theory empire that would make his real story disappear behind a wall of speculation, accusations, and internet detective work. And while his family grieved, while his fans mourned, the conspiracy machine went into overdrive, turning his tragedy into content. But some of these theories aren't as crazy as they might seem. Because when you dig into the aftermath of Juice WRLD's death, you find a web of controversial decisions, suspicious business moves, and unanswered questions that even the most rational observers can't ignore. Let's start with the biggest conspiracy theory of all, that Juice WRLD faked his own death. This theory gained traction on TikTok and Reddit, fueled by a 2017 X post where Juice WRLD wrote, "My goal is to get overly famous, shine for a couple years, then fake my death." A tweet from 2017, 2 years before his mainstream success with Lucid Dreams. Conspiracy theorists saw this as a roadmap, a plan that he executed with precision years later. Some pointed to flight tracker data showing a Falcon 900 jet, allegedly his, landing in the Bahamas on December 8th, suggesting he fled rather than died. Now let's be clear, official reports confirm he was on a plane from California to Chicago, not the Bahamas. His funeral on December 13th, 2019 was attended by family and collaborators like Ski Mask, the Slump God. But the fact that these theories even exist tells us something important. Fans couldn't accept the official story because the official story felt incomplete. And here's where it gets interesting. The conspiracy theories weren't just coming from random internet users. They were being fueled by people who were actually there. In 2021, fellow artist Clever released an album titled Crazy, where the track list's first letter spelled Juice WRLD is alive, which some interpreted as a hint that he was still living. Was this just a tribute, a marketing stunt, or something more? Reddit
Marketing stunt. Lame ass nigga. Wish he was Juice. Never could get on his level, never will.
discussions showed mixed reactions, with some users viewing these theories as tributes while others considered them disrespectful. But the fact that an artist who was actually close to Juice WRLD would create content that deliberately fed conspiracy theories raises questions about what really happened in those final months. Then there's the most disturbing theory of all, that his record label was involved in his death. Some fans speculate that Grade
It's a good video.
orchestrated his death to retain control over his three.
I like this video, bro, making hella good points. I feel like he covering everything. Much love to the video.
3,000 plus unreleased songs. This theory gained credibility when Ali Lottie made increasingly erratic statements about the official cause of death. And Ali Lottie's statements have been the fuel feeding the conspiracy fire for years. We saw her explosive denial in part 1, but it gets worse. In a June 2022 video, she hinted at undisclosed events the day before his death, saying, "If people knew what happened the day before Jared passed, and the day that Jared passed, and everything like that, which I cannot speak upon at this moment, but I will. I just have to make sure that I am safe. I just have to make sure that I am safe." That's not the language of someone grieving an accidental overdose. That's the language of someone who believes they might be in danger for what they know. But here's where the story gets really controversial. The business moves that happened immediately after his death. Juice WRLD's catalog was eventually sold in a 9-figure deal, representing one of the largest posthumous music catalog sales in recent history. Think about the timing.
What have I told you? There's a simple way to look younger
Damn.
and more attractive.
Been shown in studies
is
that
sad.
actually make you look younger.
It actually really does.
The man dies on December 8, 2019. Within months, his unreleased music is being packaged, processed, and sold. His voice is being used for collaborations he never approved. His image is being licensed for merchandise he never designed. This isn't just about conspiracy theories anymore. This is about the very real, very documented exploitation of a dead artist's work. And it goes deeper than just music. The controversy extends to how posthumous releases have been handled, with fans questioning whether these truly represent his artistic vision or are simply attempts to capitalize on his name. When you die at 21 with thousands of unreleased songs, who gets to decide which ones represent your legacy? Who gets to determine what you would have wanted? The answer, unfortunately, is the same people who failed to save his life. But the conspiracies go beyond just the music industry. There's a darker theory that connects Juice WRLD's death to a broader pattern of young artists dying under suspicious circumstances. Some draw parallels to other artists like Lil Peep and Mac Miller, who also died from overdoses, highlighting systemic issues in the industry. The pattern is disturbing. Young, talented, vulnerable artists who make enormous amounts of money for their labels, who struggle with addiction, who die young, and who become even more profitable in death than they were in life. Is it a conspiracy, or is it just the natural result of an industry that prioritizes profit over people?
I don't get that though. How they be more profitable in death than being alive? Like, I get that it's a lot of money in death, but somebody being alive and being here and on and on and on, I don't think dying is more profitable than staying alive.
Controversy deepened when fans started connecting dots that maybe shouldn't be connected. Some pointed to a TikTok trend before his death that involved users faking seizures to an edited version of lucid dreams, seeing this as prophetic or part of a larger conspiracy. Now, any rational person knows that a TikTok meme didn't cause Juice WRLD's seizure. His seizure was caused by drug toxicity, not external influence. But the fact that fans were looking for these connections shows how desperate they were for answers that made sense. Because the official story, that a 21-year-old with access to unlimited resources, with people who loved him, with interventions planned and rehab scheduled, somehow still ended up dead on an airport floor. That story doesn't make sense to people who loved him. In his final months, Juice WRLD was already seeing the system for what it was. He was cutting people off. He was recognizing the exploitation. He was trying to...
Here we go. Now we get into the real facts. Juice himself. This is what he was doing. He was on the up and coming. He was cleaning up, getting bad people away from him. And that's when they came in for the kill.
Take control of his own story.
I don't got all my friends no more. Like, I could probably count my friends on one hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people switched up. A lot of people feel entitled. I don't owe nobody shit, man. Like, they not the ones writing my raps. You know what I'm saying? I'm the creative genius behind everything that I got going on. So, like, I don't owe nobody shit.
But there's another
Facts.
controversy that cuts even deeper than the conspiracy.
Glad he knew that,
What would
man.
have
My bro.
happened if Juice WRLD had survived that night? Because the debate around this question reveals something disturbing about how we value human life versus legal consequences. Users on social media platforms estimated that Juice WRLD faced many years in prison, with some suggesting 40+ years if charged with trafficking and gun offenses. The controversy, many fans openly debated whether his death actually saved him from something worse. Reddit discussions included comments like, 70 pounds of weed and drugs while flying internationally would lead to serious jail time, suggesting suicide was a smart decision to avoid it, and 70 pounds of weed and guns at airport would lead to long jail time, so he popped 7 perks to kill himself before arrest. Think about how twisted that is. We're debating whether a 21-year-old was better off dead than facing the legal system. We're analyzing whether overdosing was a smart decision compared to potential imprisonment. Some users even argued he could have avoided charges with good legal representation, while others insisted the evidence against him was too overwhelming. The controversy reveals a fundamental question. In a system where young black men routinely face decades in prison for drug offenses, was Juice WRLD's death actually a tragedy or a mercy? We'll leave you to answer that. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, keep the adventure alive by clicking on one of the suggested videos on your screen right now for more amazing
Man,
content.
fuck them niggas who had my... Fuck all them niggas around my bro, man. Who got rid of my
Today,
bro,
we're
man.
talking
Fuck
down-
them niggas.